Well, actually, do you know what? I think we will just get started. I think because otherwise, because of the way you and I are going to chat, I think the half an hour will go very, very quickly.
That's fine. Absolutely.
So this is the third in our series. If you do, there are some brilliant takeaways in the other two that we've done of personalizing the guest journey. So do have a look at those in my LinkedIn profile. But for me, one of the most important things to do was to bring this back to the operation, because that's where the magic happens with guests. It's where the personal touch happens. And when I asked Greg to do this, I got such a sense of hospitality. I know that sounds a bit cliched, but just the pure hospitality spirit in what Greg has done at the W and in his career. And I think personalizing the guest journey is something that's really important to him. It's obviously important to the W, but also in his other roles that he's had. So I think what we'll do today is we'll start off with Greg. We'd love to hear a bit about you, where you've come from, about the W. We'll talk a little bit about the challenges of opening a brand, the newest luxury hotel in one of the best destinations in the UK, in Edinburgh. We'll talk a bit about tech stack, and then how guest preferences have changed. Does that sound good, Greg?
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you.
Brilliant. So please do introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about where you've come from and how you've got to the W. Would be great to hear.
Thank you so much, James. Well, first of all, I feel extremely old when you were introducing me. It just felt like I'm a dinosaur in hospitality. No, definitely not. I don't know everything. I try to stay on top of the latest trends. So my name is Greg Bogdan. I am originally from Poland, arrived to the UK, 19 years ago. And I started my career in a very independent, small hotel, boutique hotel, 140 bedrooms in London, central London, near London Bridge. And climb up of my career ladder over there. I moved to luxury, I think it was 2018. And I started working in Conrad, London St. James. And this is where we met a few years back. And 2 years ago, I have had this fantastic opportunity to change everything and move away from hustle and bustle of London and start my new life in Edinburgh and open W Edinburgh. And without hesitation, I have made a choice to change everything. It's very, very different being in Edinburgh compared to being in London. That's for sure. There are some pluses and minuses of living in a smaller city, but there's I think for me personally, it's more of a positive change than anything. After living in so many years in London and facing the Londoners' challenges day-to-day basis, it felt like there was a time to make a difference and move away from hustle and bustle of that city. But that's about me and about my career. I am in the rooms field for the entire life, and I've been in operations for almost my entire professional career, minus maybe a couple of years of working in human resources. And after 3 years of working in human resources, I decided, no, I don't want to sit behind the desk. It's lovely to help people, love to help businesses, but I want to face guests. I want to get to know them. I want to interact with them, and I went back to operations, and absolutely love it. The trends do change in hospitality, and we'll talk about technology later. But there's something you cannot take away from interacting with others, and that's the hospitality. It's not the service part, but it's the hospitality part. When you're not serving somebody, but you dare to know them, to learn from them, and and take something for yourself from those interactions. And this is really, really important to me.
Yeah, so just to pick up on that, this was exactly the same reasons that I loved working in the operation, because it was so fun, but also that interaction, not only with guests, but also with other staff in the hotel itself.
Correct.
Just a lot of fun, a lot of stress, a lot of really, really hard graft and hard work. But you've just taken me right back. So thank you for that. So brilliant. That's a really, really helpful introduction. I think the other thing I think would be really helpful is just to talk about the opening of the W, because for those that don't know it or haven't been to Edinburgh since it opened, the W is in a really iconic sort of location just beyond Princes Street. It's kind of very close to new, huge shopping, like sort of luxury shopping area. But it had its challenges, I think, in terms of the structure of the building and the way that it is. And if you are in Edinburgh, please go and see it. It's really close to the station. It has some of the best views in the whole of Edinburgh from the roof. I don't know, Greg, coming from the Conrad, obviously in a fantastic location in St. James, to Edinburgh, to that location with a completely different style of hotel, different brand, obviously going from Hilton to Marriott, with a sort of a very different structure of building. Just tell us a bit about the W and how that firstly how the opening was, because again that can be stressful, but just your experience there would be great to hear about.
I have erased that from my memory. No, I'm joking. As you said, it's a prime location where W Edinburgh is. So this whole complex of St. James's Quarter was redeveloped in 2015, and there's this new lovely shopping center, or a shopping gallery, as we like to call it here, and we are part of that redevelopment of that quarter. And location, as you mentioned, superb, off Princes Street, very close to the rail station, Waverley rail station, on the back of Moultries Walk, which is the luxury shopping center for shopping street for Edinburgh. This whole area, I'm not sure if anyone was here before. It looked like post-80s leftover, forgotten about, and because of the location itself, it was really nice that the owners have taken this massive challenge to actually bring it to its glory. And our hotel itself had some good and bad press before we opened because of the shape of the hotel. But it's a ribbon for everyone that is wondering. It's a ribbon. It celebrates the festivity of the city. And we have actually 3 of the buildings. So the main building, the ribbon building, with fabulous panoramic view of the city, the best in the city. There's no other place in Edinburgh. If the weather is nice, which is very rare in Edinburgh, to what I've experienced so far. But if the weather is nice and you have a lovely cocktail on the 12th floor with the view of the town and the sea in the background, it's just something that no one can take away from you. It feels absolutely amazing. So that's the ribbon building. We have the Quarter House, which has predominantly our majority of the inventory, and it's attached to ribbon building. And we have completely detached townhouse opposite the square that we are located, and it has 39 bedrooms. Ribbon building itself has 69 bedrooms, and all the food and beverage outlets. Sushi Samba, who partnered with us. On the 10th floor, we have our own W Lounge on the 11th floor, and obviously W Deck, which is our rooftop with those fantastic views on the 12th floor. So as you can imagine, opening a building which is complex, it is not an easy challenge. So it took a lot of strength. It took a lot of resilience and agility to actually put this project together. And we had a fantastic line of support. Me as one of main people that they have started that from the operational side, with my other colleagues from executive committee. We basically just had to put this together and then just bring heart to the building. We've been giving a product, and then we had to make it the best possible for ourselves, but predominantly for our guests. And I think that we did really good job. Obviously, with the help of the project team. But it's like, you say, it's home is where the walls are, but house is where the walls are, but home is where the heart is and the family is. And this is what we were trying to implement here. We've been given fantastic product, but it was down to us to make sure that the product is just complementary to the service that we provide, the hospitality that we provide. And because we are attached to the shopping center, we have separate receptions. We have actually 4 different receptions.
Oh, wow.
So the main one from the square, there is one connected to St. James's Center. There is one in the parking, because we have this fantastic parking that it's part of the center as well, but we take advantage of. And we have a separate reception for our James Craig Walk building, this townhouse that I've mentioned before. So imagine that. How are you gonna put this all together? Guests can come from every single angle, and you have to deliver service. Obviously we've opened the hotel in November 2023, and obviously there was a lot of learnings from us, and for us and for the guests. What they like, what the trend is, and we have established that, using this personal connection with the guests, a lot of prep is being done prior to guest arrival, enabled us to actually streamline the arrival process itself, and we're able to push to move it towards the main 2 receptions in the building. But yes, technology is also one of the biggest part of it.
Yeah, so that sort of leads me into so I have a few questions about opening. So I don't want to go through the trauma too much, but just a couple more questions about the opening. I think so. 4 entrances, and again with really sort of quite equally split room counts in each. I mean, immediately putting my hotel sales hat on, that offers some really interesting opportunities to sell things in different ways and to do other bits and pieces. But operationally, how long did it sort of take you to get from the sort of 4 down to sort of using the 2? And was it a case of, let's try a few different bits and pieces and see how it works? Or was it, did it become quite naturally clear that those were going to be the 2 sort of main, I mean, obviously the ribbon building, that's always going to be the sort of focal point of the hotel. But how long did it sort of take to get to that point?
It wasn't actually long. I think it took us about 3 months to realize that there's certain areas that we don't really need to focusing very much on. So, for instance, we were all to get to our hotel, to the food and beverage outlet, to Sushi Samba, W Lounge, or W Deck. You can get from the car park, you can get from the main entrance, or you can get from the center. And we have realized that guests don't use the center entrance very much. They prefer to go walk through the main reception to just get to the restaurant. So we have basically gave that part up to, I gave that part up to my colleagues from food and beverage, when they could basically just do check-ins for Sushi Samba and W Lounge, rather than actually utilizing that space for check-in for the guests of the hotel, because that was a full setup. To do that. And we had a full setup to do this in the car park as well. But again, we've discovered that, guests don't want to have, they don't want to have that experience of a check-in taken away from them and then just compromise. Yes, it is much faster. You can go straight away to your room from the car park rather than just stopping somewhere else. But they actually wanted to have that experience of, let me just sit down in the lobby, have my cup of coffee or a glass of champagne, and then just get to approach the reception. They wanted to have that experience. So it was very, very quickly we have realized that those two spaces don't really work, and we predominantly focus on the main one in the reception, in the level 4 in Quarter House, the main one from the square and James Craig Walk.
Okay. No, sorry. It's always I always find that when the architect will obviously design the building and build it, but then the operation comes in and has to operate it. And it's always, sometimes there's a slight disconnect between these two things in terms of operationally managing it. I think one of the other thing, I don't know if it's slightly aside, but the other thing that I think is always missing in a new hotel build is storage areas for all the kit that you need to run a hotel, because it's like does not thought about, and then it's suddenly, oh dear, we now must store all this stuff somewhere.
James, my trauma is back. Because you literally, now I completely forgotten about it. So that was the really funny part, because as you've mentioned, new building, where's all the storage area? And we have looked at the plans. Greg, this is your storage area. This is what you're going to use. And I'm getting my hard hat, vest. I'm going up, no lifts to the 10th floor, 9th floor. And I'm opening the storage and it's full of AC units. And I'm like, this is supposed to be for housekeeping. What's happening here? And they forgot to update the drawings, and we had to find the alternatives. And now when I think about it, it is funny. It is funny, definitely. Yeah. But I wasn't laughing at that time. That's for sure.
Sorry to bring that trauma back.
No.
So let's move on a little bit. So interesting. So moving from London to Edinburgh, just talk a little bit about how you think guest preferences and guest interaction has changed over your career. It'd be really interesting to just hear about that, and then we can talk a little bit about technology that you use to address that.
Yes. So, I, for the last 8-9 years, I work in luxury. And I think that, in luxury, it's a little bit different than premium and select hotels in a way of, the clientele does have those expectations of, being served in a more traditional way. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely opposite. We love that. This is why we're here. But the tendency changed, and when we talk about not waiting to check out because you can do express checkouts on your phone, for instance, it is becoming a norm. Same with the checking in, even in the luxury hotels. You have to facilitate those changes and make sure that you are ahead of the game, because I think our guests are being more and more impatient. Time is very valuable to them, and perception of the time is as well very different. The 2 minutes at the desk can be felt like 7 minutes for them. So we have to be very, very wise of how we're utilizing the technology. And guests definitely, when I have started my career, everything was, you had those manual keys, not that old, but, you had those, I remember them. And my first internship, we had those manual keys. And obviously this has evolved since. And, now you have direct connect. You can operate your whole room from the comfort of an iPad. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. That convenience, that's that anticipatory of guest needs. it's fantastic. I really look forward to see what actually future will bring. And going back to the markets you have mentioned, that London and Edinburgh are very different markets, very similar but very different. And what I have not anticipated is the fact when moving up here to north is that Edinburgh market is very seasonal. And for instance, in January and February, the city is very, very quiet. When it starts coming back to life in March until December, obviously with festival being held during summer and other activities. But it's very, very seasonal market and attracts. I'm not sure if it's because of the brand itself, Marriott, but we have a lot of guests from US, especially the ones that they actually have a heritage here in Scotland. This is completely new to me as well. You in London when you were connecting with the guests, they're here to see Westminster or Big Ben. Here when you connect with the guests, there's not only they coming here for the city for historics of it, but they coming here to find the roots, and that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And so just to pick up on a couple of bits there. So would you say, so obviously time check-in, time spent in the hotel, would you say guests sort of trending more to digital experiences and digital, like using their phone rather than talking to I think it's difficult. Like for me personally, I love a good concierge. I love to talk to someone like you. When I'm in a hotel, I ask questions, but also there are moments when I go to hotels where I don't have maybe it's late or I don't want to talk to someone and I do need that information on the phone. Have you seen what's the trend? Are you seeing people more using their phone? Or, I mean, you'll still get Americans who want to talk all afternoon, because I'm the same. I love to talk. But what's the trend do you see?
The younger generation of guests will choose digitalization over anything else. Okay. And the little bit older generation will do a mix of both. And as you have said, even myself, I would choose to message somebody if it's like 10 o'clock at night with my request when I stay in a hotel, rather than making a phone call, because it's easier. And the younger generation definitely everything digitalized, and those interpersonal connections are very little of them. There is
it's difficult to do.
Yes, and your platform it helped us enormously when we've opened. It's obviously. W is very different. We like to break the trends and stand over a little bit with certain things, and we didn't have at the beginning a typical concierge that would stand behind the desk and talk to the guests about the castle to seat. Everybody was concierge, but at the same time, the service was not very efficient. And we needed something else. So I'm not sure if you remember, James, but when we have launched the platform, our ratings of the usage of the platform was like sky high, because guests are actually interested. And sometimes, looking at their own convenience, what time they were doing it was 5 a.m. When they were looking at the platform. Maybe because they were leaving to the airport and they want to just check a couple of things, or they had a really
jet lagged.
Correct. Or they were going to Highlands, and they were just trying to plan the day or a couple of days in advance. That was very, very helpful. Now we have concierge, because again we've learned that there is need for both. And that the digitalization and this hospitality can be merged together, and and we can basically elevate the service, and we're using both to elevate service rather than just use one instead of another.
Brilliant. Yeah, so just a couple of bits to pick on there. So for me personally, I love that personal touch, but I also like the digital, exactly as you say. And I think having Ovlo as an extension of the service means that the fantastic recommendations that your concierge can give can be delivered digitally.
Yes.
And it's as simple as that, but it's also, you know, if one of your guests is staying in the townhouse and not directly exposed to the food and beverage outlets that you've got in the amazing building, I'm sure you do a great job of saying breakfast is here, come and see us, and all these other bits and pieces. But having the ability to push through, you know, those firstly your partnership with Sushi Samba, which is, you know, that's an iconic brand, but also for your own food and beverage to say you might have arrived late, do come over for a coffee. It's simple, but it does work for that. I'm curious, just on other bits on technology. Which other technologies are you using to interact with guests other than Ovlo?
So Marriott has this fantastic platform called GXP, and through that there is a lot of planning ahead of the guest arrival is happening. But at the same time, it just enables guests to communicate with the hotel directly, which is fantastic. Because you know what, sometimes when you make the phone call, you know, it's not always convenient time for me to speak, and you do it anytime, 24/7. You can basically just message the hotel and ask for anything, and the same with us. We can message you and then just ask, look, you know, how was your dinner in that restaurant? And this message can come maybe at 8 o'clock in the evening, but you will reply whenever it's convenient to you. But as well, we have, I'm not sure if I should be advertising this, to be honest, but Hot Sauce, it is a fantastic tool. And, you know, again, talking about technology and convenience of the guest, with Lutron together, we are basically incorporated a digitalization of Do Not Disturb and make up my room, or service my room. And, you know, guests press the button and, you know, we know that we need to go there. Or guests press another button and we know that we don't have to go there. And that's utilization of our housekeepers, the productivity, the efficiency as well. So that's from the business point of view. That's really, really cool. And obviously, we can monitor the time that the guest actually asks for the service. That's another great tool. Going back to your platform, the fantastic thing is that using this, we can tailor-made everything for what we actually feel that it's right for us. So I'm not sure if you remember, James, when we have opened, we had a couple of restaurants or attractions that we didn't want to have them. We wanted to have different.
Yeah.
So that was really good that we were able to do so.
To blacklist the things you don't want and to promote the things you do want to have partnerships with. Yeah. Correct. It's so important. I think, you know, the W brand, you know, I think that you have Marriott's in Edinburgh, but being the first W in a city as well, it has a responsibility.
Yes.
You know, because of the nature of W, it has a responsibility. So, you know, I work with Stuart a little bit, who does a lot of our onboarding, just to make sure that it does reflect your brand and it does reflect what the W is about. Because again, it's so, I think of some of the other W hotels that are out there, and it's iconic for Marriott. And anytime a new W opens in a city, it's an event, and so it has to be spot on and correct. And so yeah, it was a great experience working through that with you. I think just to make sure the branding is correct, the colors are right, the listings reflect that, you know, what you're trying to put out to a guest, so that branding, you know, when a guest experiences something in the hotel and they experience talking to your staff and then they receive something digitally, it should be consistent.
Yes.
so they're not
And
confused.
interestingly, you mentioned that obviously by the time that we were opening the hotel, the brand was evolving as well. So, I'm looking at the background of our meeting room now, and this off-white and black color. When I have started, there was a lot of screaming neon colors, and now it's all settled. I feel much better with that, to be honest, than with those neon colors, neon green or orange and reds. So brand was evolving, and we had to. We were one of the first hotels that they were opening at the time that had to adapt very quickly to those things. So from your side, James, thank you so much for enabling that and making sure that this is the extension of our service here at W, and you have did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you so much. We're at time, Greg. So, firstly, just thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think I speak to a lot of other technology providers, but for me, it's so important to get back to the actual operation of the hotel, because you're on the front line, you do this every day, and it's so important to hear your viewpoint. So just a huge thank you from me and the rest of the team. And for those watching, please go and see Greg at the W. I'm sorry, Greg, you probably get a load of appointments, but it is such a fantastic hotel with really unique structure, fantastic teams, great food and beverage. So go and see it. So, Greg, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be in touch soon.
Absolutely, James. Thank you so much for having me, and we'll definitely speak soon. So definitely. Thank you again.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.